What up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome in our first week of the season, talking about that abysmal 19-3 loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not abysmal on both sides, but we will discuss who our studs and our duds were, go over what went wrong, what went right, which should be the quickest portion of this segment, the what went right part, if there was any. So first, let's just go ahead, jump right into it. Mark, I'm going to have you start out with one of your studs from Sunday night's loss.
Yeah, I'll come right out and say it. I thought Tyler Smith had a good game out at left tackle. Wasn't perfect by all means. He had some communication errors with Farniok, but that's tough when you got two newcomers at one side and a good pass rusher like Shaquille Barrett. But I thought he held up well, especially in the first half. Things started to break down a little bit, as the game progressed, but I thought he had a nice, solid showing. So good on you for the rookie.
Right. I mean, there was really only one instance that I remember specifically of a miscommunication, a misassignment. The defensive lineman coming in off the edge, and both him and Farniok went after the same guy, and that guy just went free. And that was later into the game. I think Dak was already out at that point. But I'll go ahead and state the obvious. The MVP from the game, Micah Parsons, with 2 sacks, constantly in the backfield, causing headaches for Tom Brady. There was a couple of occasions where 2 of those sacks led to field goal attempts. The defense was really the one that was doing it all last night. And Sunday night, Micah Parsons was the one that stood out the most for me, really on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Micah. He's a stud out there, man. He's just when we needed a sack in those moments, he came through, and you had to think it was coming eventually. The way he was flying off the edge like a bat out of hell, but he had a great game. I will say though, my next stud on both those sacks, Osa Odigizua beat his man inside and did not allow Tom Brady to step up in the pocket, which in turn helped Micah get those sacks. And I tweeted about it, and Osa blew up his guy both those sacks. And he was right there in position to clean it up if Tom Brady managed to get out of there. But, yeah, I think he had a good game. I saw that he had a few good stops on the run game too, so I thought he had a nice game. Osa's a type of guy that has just that motor for days, and he just does not stop. So I thought he played well.
I'll stay on the defensive side of the ball too. I thought Leighton Vander Esch was all over the field Sunday night. He led the team in tackles. I think it was 9 total. So not a super standout night, but he looked to be kind of captaining the defense, moving around, making sure, limiting big plays. They did get beat up in the run game. They had over 100 yards rushing. Leonard Fournette was going off on from that standpoint, but Leighton Vander Esch again, all over the field. Really, I mean, that's the only thing, when I'm write down everything that I had from the game, it's really just all on the defensive side of the ball. The only guy that I had as a stud on offense, and it was mainly just kind of brownie points in a sense, was Zeke Elliott. He averaged over 5 yards a carry, but only had 10 carries, I think, or 10 carries. He averaged over 5 yards, and they just went away from it. And for most of the game, you were only down 12-3.
Really frustrating.
And didn't understand why, and he had good burst to him. Yep. He looked like he had that good little shifty Zeke move back, his cutbacks inside. I just didn't understand, and I'll get to it more later on the dud side, why he wasn't getting the ball more, wasn't getting more opportunities.
Yeah, it's really frustrating when last year he had a PCL tear for most of the year. He was only averaging, I think it was like 2.7 yards a carry, and they just would give him the ball 20 times a game, force it down his throat. And then he's averaging 5.1 this game, and they give it to him 10
Right.
times. And they're not down by a significant amount to where they had to keep throwing it. You could slow the game down and move drives with the run game as well. It doesn't have to be 20 yards down the field every freaking time. And sometimes, Dak starts to throw into, double teams, triple teams, just because he's trying to move the ball down the field. And I just don't get it. Like when the run game is working, they tend to go away from it. When the run game is not working, they're hitting a wall every time. I don't understand.
It was especially the way that Dak was throwing the ball. I mean, that would have been giving you more reason to keep feeding Zeke. And even Tony Pollard, I think he had finished with 6 carries for 8 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he was less than.
He had one carry where he showed
average.
a little pop. I think it was like maybe a 7-yard carry or something, but the rest of it was he was getting caught at the line of scrimmage, not following his blockers. Granted, the offensive line play as a whole was not great in this game, but the run game is working with Zeke. So and Pollard's a shifty guy, and I think he just needs a little more polish to finding the holes inside the tackles.
Right. Well, that's something that we talked about before the game too, is that we wanted to see more of Tony Pollard. We wanted to see a bigger split between the two guys, but yet when Tony Pollard got out there, it almost like they proved us wrong from that standpoint, but then proved us right on other reasons why Zeke should be out there more. And I'm going to get to that when we get to our duds. Do you want to lead off with your first less than stellar player from Sunday night?
Oh man, really anyone on the offense you could
just pull out. Like
I mentioned it
right here.
I mentioned it before, but Matt Farniok, he came in for Connor McGovern after he left in the first quarter, and after a good preseason by him, I thought he had a really nice preseason that got him on the team. You'd think he'd be a little more prepared for it, but he just did not look good. I pulled up I retweeted one of his PFF. I'm not really a big fan of PFF, but they do have some, good stuff on there. But
right.
Let me just hold, please. I had it pulled up and then I cleared everything out of my phone, apparently.
Damn technology.
Yeah. All right. So PFF gave him a 26.7 pass blocking grade. He allowed 6 pressures, 3 hurries, and 3 quarterback hits. So just not a great day by old Matt Farniok. But it's hard when you're coming in, you don't think you're going to play, and then all of a sudden you're playing. So I get there's some growing pains to it, but that's just not a good showing all around.
Yeah. The first guy that I'm going to go after, I've done a lot of defending of Kellen Moore over the last couple of years, and now I'm starting to reach the point where when are we going to actually establish an offensive identity? I feel like he is just 1 week it's over here, and then 1 week it's way down here. And we watched the biggest thing that really just upset me during Sunday night was watching Tony Pollard struggle to pick up blocking assignments on 3rd and long passing situations. And I understand maybe the point to having him out there is kind of like a decoy, like, oh, maybe he's not going to stay back there and block. He's going to come out of the backfield, screen pass, some type of, something short and sweet for Dak to hit. Cause he wasn't hitting the broadside of a barn Sunday night, but I talk about this all the time. He's the best PB, RB in the league. Zeke is the best pass blocking running back in the league. And you don't have him out there in particular situations where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating to watch. And then you go back to the running part that we were just talking about. Zeke's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Why aren't we trying to run the ball more? establish a run game, make the safeties come forward, and then our less than awesome receiving core can establish deep threats. You can get CD going on seam routes, or just something. And it was, and to his defense, I guess, when Dak was playing the way that he was, nothing's going to be successful. Dak was throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb in triple coverage. He was throwing the ball into double coverage. He wasn't picking up the zone defense on the interception in the first half. And it just, everything was bad, but especially from the offensive standpoint, it was just so painful to sit there and watch that.
Yeah, I can give you our offensive identity right now. It's cutesy. That's what cutesy. Like, it's really cute. Like It's cute to run a double reverse 3 plays into the game for a 9-yard loss. I don't understand the play.
What are we doing? No.
Yeah, come on. This isn't a 10-year-old playing Madden. This is the NFL. You need to understand situations and when you can take risks and when you can't. Dak, on a couple times, instead of taking a sack, he throws into triple coverage and almost gets intercepted. And that's on Dak, not on Kellen, but the play calling has just been all over the map, and I just don't understand where we want to take this team. I don't know if Mike McCarthy needs to take over in that area to find an identity. This whole offseason, he talked about not wanting to get big-bodied, or what did he call it? When we got ran over by the 49ers. And then the first game we come into the season, Leonard Fournette rushes all over us. So what?
Yeah, we had over 100 yards.
What direction is this team going? This drives me nuts about the front office, how we're so reactionary to what happened to last year. But so it feels like we make, moves to not allow that to happen again. But then the same shit happens
again
in the first game, from last year. Last year, our offense would stall and our defense would have to pick the. And they won 12 games, so it worked to a point. But you're not going to get
sustainable.
Yeah, you're not going to get.
It shouldn't be.
You're not going to go
sustainable.
anywhere
That's
when
the
you can't
problem.
score a freaking touchdown.
Right. That sort of thing cannot be sustainable in the NFL. And luckily for the Cowboys, they play in the NFC East, who generally over the past however many years has had at least 2 really shitty teams and then 1 average team.
But
all of them won week
one. Yeah.
They're all 1-0.
Granted, they were close games, but they all won. Cowboys have that big L. So
I was gonna say, I was looking forward to playing Philadelphia if the defense plays the way that they're playing, and then Philly's defense plays the way that they're playing. They gave up 30-something points to the Lions.
The Lions.
It came down when I left the bar on Sunday. It was 37-21, and then when I checked the score, they only won by a couple points. But what am I supposed to be excited about now?
Same with Washington, the last-second field goal, to win the game. But yeah,
I was so ready to tweet Colin Cowherd after Carson Wentz threw an interception and they were losing to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way.
I just don't. They need to figure out something, and they need to figure out something quick. Especially, it's going to get ugly, And sometimes, I see myself as an optimistic guy, but sometimes I feel like, have you seen that meme with the dog and the room is filled with fire and he's sitting there like, this is fine.
Yeah.
I feel like that dog sometimes, but I'm getting burned right now and it doesn't feel good.
No, it sucks to sit here and watch the same product over and over again. And you just sit here and wonder, does the Jones family actually care?
Yeah.
Because I really don't have any evidence to the contrary that they do, in fact, care about trying to win a championship. Why? To a certain degree, why would you care if you're the most valuable sports franchise in America?
Well, they obviously care about money because, Steven likes to have cap room for God knows what.
For no reason.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. There's
But
good wide receivers sitting on the open market right now. We can go and grab a guy. There's good offensive linemen that are sitting on the open market right now that we can go grab a guy.
one of the
But Cap
things
Boy
that
wants to keep his money in his pocket. I don't get it.
it bugged me incredibly was watching Julio Jones tear it up.
Yes, that was one.
And
That was a guy.
I
That was like, please go
I
get
don't
that
know
guy.
the numbers. I don't know what he signed for, but I'm assuming to go play with Tom Brady, he was like, dude, give me $1 and I'll go play.
Uh,
But to watch Julio Jones out there and torch this defense, I mean, he was other than Leonard Fournette. I mean, Tom Brady was getting the ball out quick. There was nothing we could do about that on the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball because that's just something that he's been great at his entire career. But moving down the field, making the hard catches, going up, getting the ball. I mean, why would that have been such a big issue with the 10 plus million in cap space that we have to bring him
it's
in?
like isn't it like 17 at this point? Like I guess we just signed Jason Peters, but I don't know what he probably vet minimum. So 15, 16 million we have just sitting in the
And
bank
could
right
have
now.
used it on that.
Yeah. Amari was going to make 20 million this year. We had that 20 million, and
And
Dak
used
would
it
have
towards
loved to have
jack
Amari
shit.
this game. On Julio Jones, like even if he's washed, he's still a veteran presence in that receiving room that we don't have right now. I don't know if CD's ready to be the number one guy. I think he's good in a number two role or a slot guy, but I'm not sure if he's ready to take the number one role. He had some bad drops this game, and it really
Yeah.
it's frustrating. You don't want to see your number one guy when the ball hits your hands, you got to catch it. But even if it's a bad throw, the ball hit his hands, and especially it was a third down that would have converted the first down. I can't remember what drive it was, but it was one of the few drives that the offense was actually starting to move the ball, and then he doinks it off his hands and drive stalls. It's really, it's gonna get uglier too. As much as bad as Dak played this game, I don't trust Cooper
Didn't
Rush
get
to
a lot
get.
of help.
No,
Yeah.
I don't trust. I mean, I would say Cooper Rush could come in and win a game if we need him to, but not, 4 to 6
3 or
games,
4 or whatever it
three.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
brace
that's
yourself, fans, because it might get uglier. And this is
that's the next part that I wanted to get into. Mentioned it earlier. Talk about what went right, what went wrong. Clearly, nothing outside of the defense went right. So when you're looking at what went wrong, because that's really all I thought about the entire time.
Yeah.
What went wrong? And one of my keys that we talked about to winning this football game was penalties. This was the most penalized team in the league last year.
Yeah.
And what did they do week one against arguably the greatest quarterback of all time with a lot of weapons around him? Penalties. 10 of them for 73 yards. And they are just drive killers. Every time, stall out a drive. There was one point that we were talking about earlier, and I couldn't find the actual drive, so I don't know if it actually happened, but because they all blend together, there's so many of them that they just blend together,
Yeah.
and you can't keep track of them anymore. But Terrence Steele had 2 false starts on one drive, and we're thinking that he also had a holding penalty on the same drive.
Yeah. It was either the same
And
drive
they
or the
just
drive
kill
right
you.
after. Oh, it's infuriating because
It had to have been close if it wasn't the same drive.
Yeah.
And I know we're still trying to figure that out, but 10 of them for 73 yards.
it's bonehead penalties that are killing this team. The offensive line false starts or holding is ticky tacky. You can call holding on any play of the game. So I understand, frustration with holding penalties and stuff, but false starts, guys not getting lined up in time before Dak starts his cadence, that kind of bullshit, like that's coaching. Like that cannot happen on an NFL team.
McCarthy is in year 3 with this team,
Yeah.
and penalties are still numero uno, arguably biggest issue on this team, and it's not going to help you down the line if you are trying to make the play, or even if you do make the playoff, because we saw it in the last game of the season last year against the 49ers.
Yeah.
They couldn't get anything going offensively because of penalties.
They're drive killers, like you said. Like, we finally start to move the ball a little bit. It's been 4 drives and 3 and outs every time. We finally start to move the ball a little bit. Great. All right, they get past midfield. Awesome. Holding. All right, back it up 10 yards. Oh, false start. Back it up another 5.
Right.
It's not fair to the fans, for one thing, but these guys are grown men. They need to hold themselves accountable.
Exactly.
When I was playing football, if we had a false start, jumped off sides or whatever, we had rolls on the field. And that was terrible.
I've only heard nightmare stories about him.
Terrible. Every time we false started, it was 200 yards of rolls. Go down the field, going back, rolling on your side. You throw up after 50 yards. It's not fun. But I never jumped off sides after that again or false started. These guys, I mean, I get crowd noise and shit, but you're on offense, you know the snap count.
It makes you wonder if anybody's holding them accountable at the Star on Mondays after games or on Tuesdays whenever they return to practice. Is coach getting in their face telling them, how come we haven't figured this out yet? If you're not holding yourselves accountable, then who else is?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like coaching is doing. Every time they flash over to Mike McCarthy after a penalty, he's sitting there staring up at the screen as if, although there's no way he twitched on that false start. And it's like, no, it's clear as day.
You know what? If you false start, we're losing this game right now. Pull his ass. Get him out there for a couple plays. Throw his backup in. And, if you're going to make bonehead plays, you're going to sit on the bench. I just don't understand. You don't want to treat these grown men like kids, but god damn, it's so frustrating to watch every single freaking Sunday.
No, but sometimes
it's the first week of the season.
Has to be.
Yeah,
I know, and we have 16 more of these things to go. All right,
I didn't think I'd get this fired up, but
it's frustrating. We've been dealing with this for 27 years, watching the Jones family put out a team that we think could potentially at least get us to an NFC championship for the first time in my memory. I was 6 the last time they won a Super Bowl. I can't remember what I was doing when they won the Super Bowl. I was too worried about Pokemon or something. I never played Pokemon. Let's get that out of the, I had a big Jurassic Park collection, so I had a lot of Jurassic Park stuff. But you're putting out the same thing all the time. Well, that explains a lot.
Oh,
but then we get back to the they're staying with the offense and Kellen Moore. Getting back to that, one of my other keys was turnovers. And obviously, that's incredibly hard. We already mentioned how quick Tom Brady gets the ball out of his hands, and he does it for a purpose. One pick in great field position, right around midfield. And you're still only down 12-3, I think, at this point when the interception took place. So you get the ball around midfield. What happens after? 3 and out. Punt it away. Gone.
Yeah.
Dak was all over the place. Play calling was questionable. The personnel they threw out there was questionable. During the first, the beginning stages of the game, they were throwing out 12 personnel. So you're wondering how CD and Noah Brown are supposed to get open when, you got 1 or 2 of those tight ends blocking and Dalton Schultz, doing the pass block and then run out for a route. I mean, there was just nothing available to Dak when he did throw. I mean, I was happy he was kind of being aggressive, but then at the same time, it was like, all of these little screens behind me were Tampa Bay secondary players, and I'm the receiver. They're just all over everybody every time he let the ball go.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there watching it, waiting for, okay, we get to the second half or get to halftime. We're going to make adjustments. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Start moving around a little bit more. Obviously, we have an inexperienced receiving core. Dak's, for whatever reason, just not feeling it tonight. Let's figure out a way to make things work. But none of that happened. They went into halftime and they came out and they did the exact same thing.
Yep.
And I don't know I don't even care about, we've been dealing with people talking shit to us our entire lives about how trashy this team is.
Yeah.
And now that I teach, now that I have all of these 16-year-olds, that's the only thing that I've got a 6-foot Cowboys poster in my classroom. The first thing everybody comes in, oh yeah, Cowboys suck. And it's just like, I know. I watch it every Sunday. And it's just garbage. When can we see some damn change?
Yeah.
Please.
I don't know. I mean, it's morbid to think about, but Jerry's not getting any younger. But I don't know. But even
eventually, we got.
But Catboy is going to be in charge at that point. So I mean, we're just going to be scraping the bottom of the free agency barrel every year and trying to draft good guys. That strategy only works when you nail your draft every year. And we've had some duds, coming out the last, 3-4 years. We've had good drafts, but there's some duds. And if you don't try to sign, some of these guys that maybe have some juice left, like you're just.
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to improve. So we've got numerous injuries that we have to think about. Obviously, the biggest one. Well, let's knock out Connor McGovern, J-Ron Curse,
sprain, MCL.
And then an MCL sprain.
Yeah.
Out a couple of games, 3 or 4. I don't know what the exact number is, but they're expected to miss multiple weeks.
I think I saw 3 to 4, but that injury is kind of shaky, so it could be, it could feel great one day and then it feels shitty
the next. Yeah. Carlos Basham Tyrell Basham also went out with a thigh injury. I don't know if we have to worry about that one too much.
Yeah, I mean our D line's pretty deep, so that's not going to hurt us too much. I hope he gets better soon, but that's not going to be a deal breaker for us.
Right, and then the big one, without our starting quarterback, original diagnosis for Dak was 7 to 8 weeks, something like that. Looking at returning after the bye, but now it looks a little bit more optimistic, 4 to 6. They're going to put a plate in the thumb to make it stronger. But here comes. I've already made my feelings clear that I want to have Will Greer out there personally because I think he's got some Tony Romo in him, and he's just going to go out there. He's got the cockiness to be a Cowboys quarterback and just throw the ball all around. But got to start hoping Cooper Rush can pull out a couple of wins out of his ass over the next month or so.
I think, didn't we put up a poll on our Twitter, like who people would rather have? And I mean, most people say Greer, I think. I thought Greer had a better, preseason. Cooper Rush came in last year and won us a game against the Vikings. So we know he can come in and win a game if he needs to, but asking him to, let's take a look at the schedule. Once again, I thought I had it pulled up, but here I am looking for it. All right, so we got Bengals next week, Giants, Commanders, Rams, Eagles. Is that 6 right there?
A pissed off Bengals team.
Yeah. Granted, Joey Burrow might throw this defense, 3-4 picks and.
Hopefully, but
that's the only way we're going to win this
if they can do anything.
They better take him back for touchdowns because our offense isn't going to score him. So yeah, can he split? Those games on those teams that I named just now. maybe.
That's
I
what you.
don't know.
That's what you hope for.
That's
I
the
don't think you
hope.
can
But
hope for anything more, and you hope that it's not anything less. So if we
yeah,
can go, if Dak is out for, let's say, the middle part of it, 4 to 6, so 5 weeks, he goes 2-3 in that span. He comes back, and we're sitting at 2-4.
Dak's
I
got some work
think
to
I,
do.
I think I could be happy with that.
Yeah,
And then if Dak can find that confidence and figure out Michael Gallup should be back by then,
that'll help.
add him into the mix.
Yep.
But right now
Get some
it's
more
not looking
continuity
good.
with this we get some more continuity with this O line, as the weeks progress too. So
I
hopefully the
started
offensive line
here.
play.
I started right in the middle.
Yeah.
And they had to prove to me to get me up to here. So now I'm moving down this way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to do with Dak's injury. It was before Dak's injury, watching the way that they were playing, that I'm just like, oh, yeah, here we go. This is going to be a fun 17-game season.
You'd think they'd learn their lesson. Was it back in 2019 when they said we don't need a number one receiver? We just go out with a committee approach.
That's when they went and got Amari Cooper.
And then they played 3-4 games with a committee, and they're like, yeah, this isn't working. So we need it, And I hope CD can become the number one guy. Maybe he just needs a few more games of polish, But there's veterans out there that can come in and help and add something to that receiver room right now that we are lacking right now, and that's experience, So we'll see. Maybe Odell, maybe that knee,
heals up
quick. Yeah. But I would love to have Odell on this team. I think he'd be great on the Cowboys. I think Jerry would like.
He's got that attitude, and makeup that really gets Jerry excited. So I mean, it's not in any way, shape, or form crazy to think that he couldn't find himself with a star on his helmet.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Anything else you had?
Go Cowboys!
Go Cowboys! Yeah, we'll be back with you guys later in the week to get ready for the Bengals game.
Yeah.
Man,
I got fired up. I got fired up. I didn't think I would get too fired up. I was feeling, pretty even keel about it, but you bring it out of me.
I haven't had anybody to talk to about it, because when shit like this happens, I sit here with 3 children and a wife who really don't give a shit.
My wife's like, oh yeah, the Cowboys lost again. How about that? I'm like, yeah.
My wife likes it because normally I go into a cleaning spree after a sad football defeat.
You clean when you're mad too?
Yeah, dude. I'm sitting here going around the kitchen and everything, and I'm just like, bro, I need to take my mind off of it.
It drives Haley crazy. Like whenever we're arguing or something, I'm folding clothes or doing the dishes, yelling at her, then going back to her. It's like I need to do something with my hands right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna put it through a wall.
Right. Well, I don't know if I'd go that far personally. I have 6 hands and they're not very big, so I'd probably break my own hand. But yes, fellow Cowboy fans, we'll see you later in the week to talk Cowboys-Bengals, another home game. I think we had a record crowd on Sunday. I don't think we're going to have a record crowd this Sunday for the unless everybody wants to go see Joey Burrow. But yes,
Joey Burrow's a good time.
He's fun to see walk up. Yeah. He's always got the drip down. He's always looking flashy. So go ahead and follow us at Mad Cowboys Pod for the show. The other names down there on the ticker: M. Boynton 78 for Mark, Trey D. Warren for clearly Trey Warren. Love you guys.
Find us on YouTube too, Mad Cowboys Disease. You can just
Buzzsprout, Spotify. Yeah. Eventually, when my life calms down, I'm going to put this all onto one giant banner that everybody can see, and we'll rock and roll from there. But we will see you guys later. Appreciate you for joining us. Peace.
Later, guys.